Не собираемся воевать с Европой, я уже об этом 100 раз сказал. Но если Европа вдруг захочет с нами воевать и начнет, мы готовы прямо сейчас. Здесь не может быть никаких сомнений. Только вопрос в чем? Если Европа вдруг начнет с нами войну, мне кажется, что очень быстро, это же не Украина. С Украиной мы там действуем хирургическим способом, аккуратненько, так, чтобы, понятно, да, это не война в прямом современном смысле этого слова. Если Европа вдруг захочет начать с нами войну и начнет ее, то очень может быстро произойти ситуация, при которой нам не с кем будет договариваться.
Hey, Shalom. I'd like to start out by giving all glory, praise, and honor to Yahweh, Bahasham, Yahweh Shai, Bahasham, Rakha Kwadash. Double honors to the elders and apostles of the Great Millstone. Shalom to the elect of Israel. This is the Mayim in Atlanta. And you just saw Putin there, and he's talking about how if Europe wants to go to war with him, or with Russia, they are ready. They are already ready. And this comes just really about a week after hearing about Russia, not Russia, but Europe trying to, or basically they had a nicer wording for a draft, trying to get military age males ready for war. And that's just the time that we are in. We are in a time of war. Out of that time of peace, and we are in a time of war. And so I actually I pulled this up from Reuters too. And so we'll look at it because just to get some of the translation and the meat of what he said. But this came out December 2nd, 2025, and it says Putin warns Europe, if you want war, then Russia will defeat you. And I didn't hear him say that in there, but let's get to reading. Let's see what it says. Or I didn't read it. I can't understand Russian, but the translation didn't say that he will defeat them. He said they're ready. That they are already ready. But it says President Vladimir Putin warned European powers on Tuesday that if they started a war with Russia, then Moscow was ready to fight, and that the defeat of European powers would be so absolute that there would be no one left to even negotiate a peace deal. And he's not talking about Russian soldiers going out there and really laying everybody down. He's talking about the missiles, his missiles, or really the Lord's missiles that he's going to send on them. He's threatening nuclear war, or at least saying that's what he'll bring if they do bring war to him, that he's going to basically nuke them. And there won't be anybody to talk about it when it's all said and done. That's actually the war. Slovakia. Isaiah 59. All right, let's go here. Isaiah 9 and 5. For every battle of the warrior is with confused noise and garments rolled in blood. And that's been all wars up until the U.S. dropped atomic bombs on Hiroshima and Nagasaki. All the other wars have been like this. For every battle of the warrior is with confused noise and garments rolled in blood. Very up close and personal, especially ancient battles. You had to get close to get somebody with your spear. or even with a bow and arrow. That's still close enough. It says, but this is in World War III that we're coming into. This Battle of Armageddon, when the soldiers all meet, or the armies of the nations meet in the valley of Yehoshaphat. This is this battle, World War III. But this shall be with burning and fuel of fire, hinting at the nukes, or showing you the nukes. This war is going to get nuclear, and Putin's even telling you right there, these weapons are here to be used. This is almost 4 years into the war in Ukraine, the deadliest conflict in Europe since World War II. Russia has failed to conquer the country, in which they're not, he even mentioned it in that video, that they're going at it very strategically, very surgically to take the country, because they want to use it. They don't want to just flatten it out. And so it's not just a invade, conquer, done kind of thing. They want to use it. So they're strategically fighting this war, but they are winning that war. It says Russia has failed to conquer the country, a much smaller neighbor which has been supported by European powers and the United States. Ukraine, because they're really trying to retake area or territory that they believe is theirs, so you don't want to just destroy it to where it's unusable. This is Ukraine and European powers have repeatedly warned that if Putin wins the Ukraine war, then he could attack a NATO member, a claim which Putin has repeatedly dismissed as nonsense. And yeah, if he really wanted to, he could say that that they're already at war with them, because this is obviously not a war of attrition, but basically the words are at the tip of my tongue, and I've even made lessons about this type of war, but a proxy war. And so Ukraine is a proxy for NATO and the US. Or really, the US is a part of NATO, but they are using Ukraine to battle Russia. And that's why this war has lasted so long, because NATO's backing the Ukrainians and giving them tons of money. That's why the US is always sending money over there to support Ukraine. It's more than just money. They were giving them Tomahawk missiles and like all these other things too. And so they've been supporting them already. So really, Putin could say that they're already at war, and they're supposed to have peace talks today, as well, or over the last day or 2 days or so. And from what I've read, they have not gone well, because we are in a time of war. There will be no peace under the Edomite rule. They have to live by the sword. It's their blessing, so they're not going to put that away, or else they'll die, because they have to live by that sword. But moving on, it says, asked by a reporter about remarks in the Russian media that Hungarian Foreign Minister Peter Szijjártó had cautioned that Europe was preparing a war against Russia, Putin said that Russia did not want a war with Europe. And you can imagine, it's crazy for Europeans to want a war with Russia. Russia holds the most nukes of all the nations, even over the US. That's why they're threatening with nukes, saying there'll be nobody to negotiate with. It says, if Europe suddenly wants to start a war with us and starts it, Putin said, then it would end so swiftly for Europe that Russia would have no one left to negotiate with. Putin used the Russian word for war. Gotta look that up after. But yeah, he is threatening or talking about nukes. It's really not a threat. He's just saying if Europe attacked them or started a war with them, then this is how they would respond. He says he also suggested that the war in Ukraine was not a full-blown war, and that Russia was acting in a surgical manner, which would not be repeated in a direct confrontation with European powers. Yeah. This is Putin says Europe is hindering Trump's peace efforts Putin sent tens of thousands of troops into Ukraine in February 22, triggering the biggest confrontation between Russia and the West since the depths of the Cold War. U.S. officials say more than 1.2 million Russian and Ukrainian men have been killed in the war, which is a lot. Neither Ukraine nor Russia discloses its losses. You hear about Russia's still going, but you hear about Ukraine trying to get troops, and you see those videos of them going and stealing men off the streets or from their jobs, wherever. And then you hear about old men even, which means they've lost, basically. But Putin accused European powers of hindering U.S. President Nero's attempts to end the war in Ukraine by putting forward proposals they knew would be absolutely unacceptable. And yeah, I've heard that before. To Moscow, so they could then accuse Russia of not wanting peace. These devils move in those fashions. As Putin said, European states had locked themselves out of peace talks on Ukraine by cutting off contact with Russia, adding they are on the side of war. Putin also threatened to sever Ukraine's access to the sea in response to drone attacks on tankers in Russia's Shadow Fleet in the Black Sea. But yeah, they're having all these peace talks, and it's not going to go anywhere. And you could see this building up to full out war. And you could even see Russia possibly going to war with Europe. And then you could see America not coming to help Europe even. But we haven't seen that yet. Maybe that happens, because ultimately the beast has to hate the whore. But this is Mark 13 and verse 7. This says, and when ye shall hear of wars and rumors of wars, and that's what we are hearing about with this Europe-Russia war talks. And then we've also had, China, Taiwan, you have India, Pakistan, as far as rumors of wars where there hadn't been actual war yet. But you're also seeing wars as well. Venezuela is a rumor of war, but they're actually getting physical already with the blowing up of those boats. But we're hearing of wars and rumors of wars. It says, be ye not troubled. So we don't worry about it. For such things must needs be, but the end shall not be yet. And we got to, seems like a terrible thing, but yeah, we want these wars have to happen and have to occur. All this violence does have to occur for the kingdom of heaven to come. So we welcome these things. We look forward to it. Even though we are begging and pleading to the Heavenly Father to be found blameless, to not succumb to the plagues that are coming to the earth, which war is one of those plagues. Verse 8, for nation shall rise against nation and kingdom against kingdom. So there's going to be wars. You're going to see back and forth between everybody and even civil wars as well, until ultimately they go to war. World War III. Until World War III happens. But even talk of Europe versus Russia, you could see where that could head. And it says, and there shall be earthquakes in diverse places. And there are earthquakes in diverse places. There's even these volcanoes are erupting as well. There's talk of one in the Philippines. There's one in Ethiopia. One in Hawaii. They're looking at the one out in Washington State, here in Babylon. There's earthquakes in diverse places. There's been lots of earthquakes lately as well. And as it says in 2nd Ezra 9, you should hear uproars of the earthquakes and uproars of the people, then you should know that the Lord's about to visit this place. Just paraphrasing. It says, and there shall be famines and troubles. And we are seeing the economy collapse. We're seeing food scarcity. Everybody was scared just a few weeks ago with the government shutdown, and that's going to happen again because they really want to herd people through their stomachs into taking this MOTB. And so really once that MOTB is made mandatory, that's when we'll know and see that World War III is underway. There shall be famines and troubles. These are the beginning of sorrows. So we're coming into the beginning of sorrows. And we've really, I'd say we've been here at the beginning of sorrows for a bit now. Not forever, but for a bit. We're at the beginning of sorrows, and we're waiting for what comes of it. And really what comes of it is going to be a war like no other war before it, to where, so let's get it in Zechariah. Zechariah 14 and 12. And this shall be the plague wherewith the Lord will smite all the people that have fought against Jerusalem. Their flesh shall consume away while they stand upon their feet, and their eyes shall consume away in their holes, and their tongues shall consume away in their mouth. This is one of the plagues that's coming. So we're at the beginning of sorrows. The ultimate sorrow are the nukes that are going to come. And I went to Zechariah 14 and 12 because this one I see visually in my mind. You can tell that it is nuclear war. And I want that image to go out. This is the aftermath of nuclear war. The missiles dropping and people burning away, being consumed away with fire. And as it said in Isaiah 9, that this war will be fought with flame and burning fire, or however it said it. This war is going to be a nuclear war that is coming. And getting into the idea of the beast hating the whore. Oh man, that's a lot. Revelation 17 and 16, because you could see, or at least see these different ways that war with Russia, or Europe going to war with Russia, could bring on Russia, bringing them down quickly and then flipping to Russia's side. Maybe that happens somehow, some way. The beast, which is NATO, which is made up of basically the vassal states of Rome, but really it's the EU. NATO's the EU. And the beast being Esau's power structure throughout time. So you had started off with the Greeks, then the Romans, Germania Major, Germania Minor, France, Spain, Britain. And then the 10 horns being the vassal states. But this basically is made up of the EU. And they're going to start hating the whore being America, or Babylon the Great. And they're going to fire missiles on this place. So you can see, possibly, if there's war with Russia and Europe, or NATO, Russia and NATO, that you could see maybe America doesn't go to join in or to support NATO. They get all mad and they fire rockets fire nukes onto America. We'll see. But this is all becoming more and more prophetic. We're at those times, and so it's fun to see how things like Revelation 17 and 16 come into being. And so here it is. In the 10 horns, the vassal states, EU, which thou sawest upon the beast, which the beast is basically the reincarnation of Rome. These shall hate the whore being America, or Babylon the Great, and shall make her desolate and naked. Because nobody's going to dwell here once these nukes come onto Babylon the Great, and shall eat her flesh and burn her with fire. So we're going to have to see if maybe they do go to war with each other. But ultimately, it's not going to work out for for America at all. And really, any Edomite at all, or any heathen Gentiles on this planet, it's not going to work out for them, because this marks the end of the time of the Gentiles. It marks the end of Esau having power, and it marks the end of his world. And then Jacob's world begins after that. So we look forward to the beast hating the whore, and maybe there's a war between Europe and Russia. So, Lord willing, that was edifying. I'd like to give all glory, praise, and honor to Yahweh, Bahasham, Yahweh Shai, Bahasham, Orchak, Wadash. Double honors to the elders and apostles of the Great Millstone. Shalom to the elect of Israel. Shalom.